Aaron Flint, our good friend, was the host of Voices of Montana. Aaron, I have to tell you, you took a bunch of my listeners by surprise because I know you sent out an email. I saw your Facebook posting last night. I never received it.
You didn't? I swear I sent that directly from my. Well, it might have come from a different email, so maybe that's how it didn't get there. Yeah, because I was in Great Falls, and so I was trying to get the email out, and so I was logged in through. Anyway, long story short, I tried to send it to as many people, but I swear I'll check my sent messages. I probably sent it from like some new Gmail account or something, and so you're probably like, what the heck is that? So probably ended up in your trash or something.
Yeah, it's being held up by my corporate servers, and I'll get it tomorrow.
Yeah,
But
well, yeah, exactly, yeah. Well, no, and I had to apologize. I apologized to the radio station because I was like, I tried to email everybody, but just in case it got through, And I wanted to reach out and talk to everybody individually, but it's kind of one of those things. Once the word gets out, the word's out. So I kind of was trying to wait till the last minute, and then before we knew it, I was saying goodbye on the air. So. But luckily, I'm right down the road from you here in Bozeman now. So.
oh well, we'll have to get together for lunch sometime. But I do want to,
Yeah.
I do want to let you know. Because I was in the studio. I just explained briefly to listeners. My workday begins after my 3 hours on the air, and I was in the studio taking care of some audio work, and a coworker walked in and said, "I think Aaron Flint just quit." And I was like, "No, I would have known." And then I punched it up, and I listened to you sign off, and I was like, oh my. And I did the story up on KMMSAM.com and put it up on the Facebook. And some of the comments, and even more so the emails sent to me from my listeners of 1450 and 1340, you would have thought that Aaron Flint was no longer among the living. And I had to say, look, he's still alive. He's still alive. He's just not on the radio anymore. What has been the reaction?
Yeah, no, well, the reaction has just been overwhelmingly positive. And in fact, it started, we had this live town hall meeting at the Montana Electric Cooperatives Association, and we this show was long in the making, because we go up there and we do the show, and we thought, why don't we do the radio show as part of the official agenda for their annual meeting, to where that way, as we're doing the radio show and talking with the panelists, all of their members out in the audience get to listen in on the radio show and then join in with their own questions. And so that was really fun. So we had a live audience, probably 150 plus people from all across Montana. I mean, just the bread and butter of folks across Montana, and in this live audience. And so we had a great show. And then just before the show ended, around 9:50, I said, "Well, I've also got to announce some news. This is actually my last show of Voices of Montana." So I mentioned that yesterday. And then when I told them what I was going to be doing, that I was I got up there and I said, "Look, we've got infrastructure that hasn't been built in Montana. We've got a Keystone Pipeline that hasn't been built. I think people want a real business leader in the governor's office. I think people really want to see somebody who's created jobs in the state capitol, because they're just tired of all this bickering and nothing getting done." And when I told them that I was going to go team up and join the effort, the exploratory campaign for, of course, Bozeman's own Greg Gianforte, the room erupted with applause. In fact, you could hear the applause over the radio live right after I said that I was going to, work for Greg Gianforte. And so, to me, that was, it is basically what we've been hearing from everybody, is that everybody, there's just overwhelming support to get a real business leader like Greg Gianforte, hopefully to run for governor. And so, Facebook's been blown up with tremendous support and text messages and everything. And so, obviously, I'm sad to be leaving Voices of Montana and all the great radio stations out there. But I guess for me personally, I've been doing the show since I got back from Afghanistan in 2009, and it's been a tremendous honor and just fun. I mean, I love taking the phone calls every day, even if it's a critical call. I don't care. That's part of the fun. But I guess for me, it's kind of like, what? It's time for action. A little less talk and a little more action right now. And I think our state needs it.
What will be your role in the Gianforte exploratory campaign for governor?
So I'll be doing the communications, be the communications director for the exploratory campaign. And so get to continue working with great folks like yourself and others across the media. Trying to help you out if you need, if you want to schedule an interview, or, whatever we can do to help communicate this great message that Greg Gianforte is bringing to the table.
Well, I'll ask you on the air in front of all my listeners, when are we going to schedule Greg's announcement on 1450 KMMS 1340 KPRK?
Good question, and I'm really excited that you want him to announce a run for governor, because there's a lot of folks who want to see that as well. Was that an endorsement there, Chris? Was that?
No. I don't endorse political candidates, but I will talk to them. But I know.
I was just giving you a hard time. It was a reverse. Why am I spacing the great's name from Meet the Bay? It was a reverse Tim Russert on you.
One question: as a former member of the media, I've talked about it. I know you've talked about it. How much money does it take to win a governor's seat? I know Greg just disclosed his finances of a little more than $250,000. Governor Bullock just announced a little more than $700,000. How much money to run for governor does it take?
It's unfortunate. It shouldn't take that much, should it? But look, at the end of the day, that's a very good question. How much is it going to take? Because Steve Bullock, as chair of the Democratic Governors Association, has been raising millions of dollars in dark money across the country. He's been a national Democrat right up there with Barack Obama and Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi. You might as well put Steve Bullock's name right along theirs as chair of the Democratic Governors Association. So he's been raising money from all of their friends or his friends, and they're not friends to Montana, but yet their money is going to be pouring into Montana. So I think, look, Greg Gianforte himself has been very successful, started a company here in Bozeman right out of his spare bedroom. He and his wife, Susan, started Right Now Technologies right out of a spare bedroom of their home here in Bozeman, ended up creating over 500 direct jobs right here in Bozeman with an average annual salary of close to $90,000 a year. Wow, that's just great for Montana. And so if he could do that for Bozeman, imagine what he could do for the whole state. But yeah, you're right. I think there's overwhelming support. I mean, people know Greg's been successful in the business world, but I think the fact that Montanans all across the state overwhelmingly came out and supported and said, you know what, I'm going to contribute to this effort. And he raised record funds in his first 6 weeks raising money. I think that is a huge sign of the overwhelming support all across the state.
Your departure from Voices of Montana made statewide news, of course. And I won't name the outlets, but there are a number of outlets in the state that took the spin that it's the blurring of the line between media and politics. And we talked about this briefly off air.
Yeah.
I didn't view it that way because you went from communicating through a radio to communicating the idea of someone who may or may not run for governor in Mr. Gianforte. Do you feel that that's a fair assessment of your move from Voices over to a communications position with the Exploratory Committee for Greg Gianforte?
Well, I think, look, at the end of the day, is it a surprise to anybody that Aaron Flint is a conservative and Aaron Flint supports getting high-wage jobs in Montana? I don't think it's a shock to anybody that I'm a conservative and that I've just been simply just impressed and amazed at what's going on in Bozeman, Montana with the high-tech jobs and just impressed by the humility and what Greg Gianforte has done for Montana. So is that a surprise to anybody? Man, it's just been incredible. I mean, I featured some of these startup companies on the radio show. I went to the High Tech Job Summit. We did a show from there. We've talked about Code Montana. We've talked about all these great initiatives that Greg Gianforte is a part of. And so I don't think it's a surprise that Aaron Flint's a conservative and has been impressed by what Greg Gianforte has done for the state of Montana already. So I think, and I was doing commentary, so it's a little bit of different. But let's go with this because I think they might be onto something. Okay, so they think that because somebody in a media position moved over to a political type position, so is there a blurring of the lines? Oh, okay, well, let's go with this. Well, did those same folks raise that question when the Capitol TV reporter became the communications director for our Democratic senator? Did they raise that when a former public radio reporter became the spokesperson for the Democratic elected to head the OPI here in Montana? Did they raise that when the former spokesman for the Montana Democratic Party became a print reporter now in Missoula? So they're really worried about the blurring of lines when somebody goes to join a conservative effort, but weren't very concerned. In fact, they were probably sending congratulatory message to their friends when they went to join the Democratic side of the aisle. I get it. it's the nature of the beast. There's always going to be certain biases out there. But look, at the end of the day, I think Greg Gianforte has got such a positive message that it's not going to matter about Democrat or Republican or left or right, because he's going to have such a positive message that all that stuff isn't even going to matter anymore.
Well, Aaron, I have to say you were one of the first media people I met when I made the transition here to Bozeman into the position here at 1450 KMMS 1340 KPRK. You made the introductions and gave me the lay of the political land when I first arrived. I thank you for that, and I look forward to working with you, continuing to work with you in your new role with the Greg Gianforte exploratory campaign for governor.
Yeah, I look forward to continue working with you, Chris, as well. And please, I want to come down, say hello to everybody at Town Square Media. Just a great group of folks with Town Square, here in Bozeman, and so a great team to work with. They do a great job for all their clients and everything like that. So I definitely want to come down and say a proper goodbye and then a proper hello with the new job as well, because you guys have just been great to work with, and it's been a huge honor to be on KMMS, and not just Town Square. Town Square's KMMS here in Bozeman, but also a Town Square property in Missoula and a Town Square property in Shelby as well. Great folks across the state. So I'm glad that I have an excuse to keep working with you, even if I'm not on the air anymore myself.
Well, Aaron, as always, thank you for your time. Have a great day, and best of luck. Let me know when we can schedule that announcement of candidacy.
All right. I hope we do it, because it'll be great.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.